Hi everyone, I'm Marin and thank you for inviting me here. I'm one of the co-founder of the studio Piece of Cake Studio. It's a company that was created in 2015, 5 years ago. And we're a team of 10 to 12 person. And over the years, we had more than 50% of the job position held by women. We have inside our R&D department for a unique technology that is the purpose is to support our game production. And in 2018, we released HackTag. It's a two-player cooperative game that we self-funded with the support of the CNC, which is a public funding. And now we're working on a game I can't tell you about, but we are supported by Creative Europe Media and the Ile-de-France region, which is the Parisian based Parisian support funding. Why public funding? Sorry, So obviously the first thing is that it's the freedom to choose at any time whether you want what you want to do with your project and your studio. The good thing with public funding is usually you keep your IP and you keep your studio share. You keep almost everything that has value on your company that you're creating. And this money you get from the public funding is a support for the prototyping, pre-production phase of development of the project, which will help you to gain production value. It's really helpful specifically for studios that are recently created that can't showcase, that can't have a strong portfolio, that can't showcase to publisher directly or investor what they can do. And this is a really great way to do a prototype demo production, something to show how talented your studio is. In my user case, what was interesting is that whenever you do a public funding, you have to set and put down all the ideas of where you're going, what you want to do with the project you're presenting. So you have to put down everything to your pitch deck to build. And in the end, all this work is something that you will have feedbacks on. Either you get the funding or not, you will have everything though, and this is a great way to have a first feedback on where you're going. And these feedbacks can help you later on whether other solution you want to choose. Either it's a publisher or investors or other solutions. These feedbacks from the public funding will help you to drive what went wrong or what went right on your presentation, on your project and company presentation. Also, whenever you get the funding, if you get the funding, it's a great way to get this first deliverable that you can test with your clients being producer or publisher or investor or again gamers this time, and getting the time to get these feedbacks and modify and change your production whether you think gets wrong or good. So with this public money, you get to choose later on which solution fits the best for your company. So it gives you time to put everything down on your business plan. Oh, okay, so this is the good part, but there are also bad parts. Yeah, less obviously. So first thing, obviously you have the freedom to choose, but you're not sure to get selected. Although also another thing is that you work hard on this project. Usually public financing is it's not a simple submission. It's not like, hey, I have a great idea and what do you think? No, it's ask a lot of data about your projection, business plan, company, what have you done, what's the company money already you have and stuff like that. So it takes a lot of time to do this submission, and time is money. So when you create everything and you don't get selected, you think you may have lost time, which I'm not sure, because actually whenever you do that, you have feedbacks to do the thing better for other solutions. So good thing is that you're keeping your IP, you're keeping your shares on your company, so you don't take risks at submitting for public funding. And the last thing I think it's project dependent. So it's a good thing because you can create different type of different funding for different kind of project of your company. But can be a bad thing, since when your project is a small part of a company creation, sometimes you wish that you can have support for growing as a studio and not only as one project at a time, right? You can have multiple production at the same time to start strong, and this is something that doesn't exist right now. With this in mind, I thank you for listening to me, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Marine. Thanks for being here. Before you go, can I ask you a quick question or two?
Sure.
So when you say public money, is that grants? So you have applied for grants and then there's a selection process, and if you're successful, you get the money. I ask because there's also other forms of public funding, such as...
Sure. The one I know of is usually, the one we got are usually grants, or we need, or refunding in case of success. Refunding.
Yeah. Okay. So if the game is successful, you pay the money back.
Yeah. There are few risks involved for the company and for ourselves. So this is also a really great way to try, right? We have, apart from time, we have nothing to lose them, but try, and either that we succeed and we get the money and we can go on, or we didn't succeed in taking it, but everything we did for this document is never lost, because those questions, those things we need to put down are the same thing that publisher and investor will ask later on.
That was actually my second question, and you already answered that. So that's really interesting. So the work that you put in making the application is useful also for pursuing other sources of funding.
Yeah, it's a great way to get feedbacks for free, actually, on your business plan for the publisher and investor later on. Although there are differences, obviously. I mean, a publisher can be seduced by only the project itself, and you don't have to talk about your company's past, or you giving, your 3 last years. I don't know the name in English, but the fact that you pay the state and stuff like that. You don't have those kind of documents to give, but it will ask at one point, what's your business plan, where you're going with this project. So everything at the idea will be actually already worked with, and you have already the feedbacks from the public funding. So that's a great way to start.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much, Marine, for coming on the show this morning and for sharing your experience with us. We'll use that now for the panel. Thank you very much. All right. All right, we're back. Thanks for joining us for the first panel, and it's obviously going to be about public funding. I think we have been building up to this moment the whole morning, and I have a great panel for you. Look at all these beautiful people. I have from Spain, I have Carmen Paez. You are with the Ministry for Culture and Sport, and you are the, let's see if I can get this right, the Deputy General Director for Promoting Creative and Culture Industries. I almost nailed it. Don't ask me to say that in Spanish. Hello, Carmen.
Hello, Pierre. How are you doing?
I'm fine. It's almost like Eurovision here. I'm in Stockholm. So what is, and you are in Madrid, I suppose. What are some of the games that you have been involved in?
Playing, you mean? I suppose.
Or funding.
Funding. I didn't check the list. Sorry, because we found different. We don't find specific video games. We funding the developers, the creators, and they decide what they are going to develop. So we just give them freedom of expression and creativity freedom. So.
Oh, so you're funding the developers, the company itself?
Yes. we funding the developers, and we are going to establish a new line in order to funding also the creators themselves, not only the big company, the medium-sized company, but also the creators themselves.
Oh, that's very interesting. Let's come back to that. But first, I'd like to welcome some of the other panelists. In fact, all of the other panelists. But let's take Yuri Lutz from Belgium first. Hello, Yuri. How are you doing?
Hi, Per. I'm doing fine. How are you?
Excellent. Not bad at all. Great day. Let's see if I can get your title right. You are the head of the game department at the Flemish Audiovisual Fund. That was easier.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
What's your proudest public funding? Which game are you most proud of?
Oh, you're asking a difficult question. I'm proud of them all, of course. So I'm not going to name any titles.
All right.
But I think they are doing a great job. And I think some of them are in the audience, so I have to be careful.
Well, I just want to give you a chance to brag here. Which was the most successful title to date then?
Well, it's quite difficult to say, because the very big titles from Belgium that you might know are actually not applying for funding from our fund, because they are bigger. But I'm just thinking, well, Blazing Sails has been making some waves to keep it in a genre. It's a Pirates Battle Royale game, and they've been doing very well. They got an epic grant last week, if I'm not mistaken. So they're doing well, and we have several that are making very interesting games. So yeah.
Blazing Sails, making waves. I love it. It's poetry right there.
Yeah.
It's also interesting.
And it was not prepared.
I know, it's spontaneous poetry. Even better. No, let's come back to the point about the bigger companies. That's also already very interesting. Okay, and I'd like to also say welcome to Olivier Fontenay. Thanks for being here this morning. And you're with the Centre National du Cinéma in
nice.
France, obviously. and you're also involved in public funding for games.
Yes, of course. The CNC, National Center for Cinema, fund games since 20 years right now, and we have several help to support studio. It's coming from the main one is a selective committee, and we are going up to tax credit. We are funding around for 55 million euros each year, probably 50 projects also.
I love it. And if I want to give you an opportunity to brag, what's your proudest achievement?
As it was said, it's a tough question. Let's just say that last year there were some awards in France. 25 games were awarded, and 95% of these games were funded by the CNC, and we are quite proud of that.
Wow. That's great. You're bragging with numbers rather than individual titles. I love it. Yeah. All right. Awards, that's another interesting dimension. Let's see if we can cover that. But let's now say welcome to, and last but not least, Till Hardy from Medienstiftung Nordrhein-Westfalen, where you're a consultant for games. Welcome, Till. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? I guess fine. I heard that already. But nonetheless, I have to ask.
Thank you. Too kind. Too kind. Now, so tell us about what you have been up to at NRW. What's your proudest achievement?
Our proudest achievement? Well, that's a better question, I guess, as asking for individual titles, as this is always rather difficult, as I, of course, also love all the games that we've been supporting. And I don't know, it's always, I think you cannot really compare the projects, as they're also very different. Some are rather small, some are bigger. And but yeah, we got titles that got picked up as exclusives by companies like PlayStation, Sony, or we got a lot of projects that won awards around the world, or that could give back our money if it was a loan and not a grant. We are handing out both. We had, I don't know, yeah, success can be measured in different ways, but nonetheless, I guess, I don't know if you're a parent, I have a couple of boys back at home, and yeah, you can't really compare them, and you love them all.
So diplomatic. I've been involved in many games, and I can easily say many of them were rubbish. So, but I guess that's why you're in these jobs, and I'm not. So Till, can you tell us what do you take away from Marin's experience of public funding from a developer's point of view?
I'm happy that she thinks that public funding is something very worthwhile for smaller independent companies, and also with the application, when at first she said, well, it's a lot of time you have to put into it, and but it's not really stupid things you have to dream up just for the funding companies, the agencies. It's something that we have also been trying very hard in our application, that this is it's a mix of a pitch deck and a business plan, and there's just some very small minor details that you have to give just to us. The rest is things that you should be doing. This is basically your homework if you are also running a company and not just developing a game. What's it going to cost me? How much do I think it will bring back to me? Who's going to work on it? What time do we need for that? What's the market perspective? So basically, it's all things you need to ask yourself anyway, and not just useless stuff. And so if you can answer all our questions in a sense, I think then you're also ready from a company perspective to start the endeavor in a sense. And so, yes, I really liked that she also then in the end said it's not a waste of time, even if you do not get selected, because you really put your thoughts into your project and how you want to structure it and plan it. And also the feedback you get, even if you are rejected, is maybe helpful for finding another way of financing it, or maybe tweaking it a little bit around to make it more compatible with the markets, the situations. So yes, I was very happy with that.
Mm. And you are working with public funding for games in an audiovisual fund. What are do you find that it's different with the games part compared to television and film, I suppose, would be the other sectors?
Yes, it is of course different, as the industries are different in a sense, but all they're all doing, let's call it entertainment, so to say. So there are also a lot of things that they have in common. And yes, the company I work for is called Film and Medienstiftung. So it's film and media, and I'm basically running the media department, and my colleagues with the film department, they do the film things for TV and movies, cinema. So there's lots of things where we have I don't know, common procedures, and also we see that the things and problems are kind of the same, but also there are differences, of course. This is why we also have a separate guideline notified in Brussels for computer games, video games, and interactive content. That is, of course, different from the film and movie guidelines, as there are different needs from the industry. So to make it a good fit, so that it's something useful for them.
Good. Last question before I move on to the next panelist. Can you give us some numbers, Till? How big is the fund? How much money do you make available for games?
We have 3 million per year. This is money from our regional government here in North Rhine-Westphalia. And yeah, it's 3 million euros a year that we have, and we can support concept work, prototyping, and also the final production development. And for concepts and prototypes, we give a grant where you don't have to give back the money. And if it really goes to the production and we support the production, then it's a conditional loan where you have to pay us back without any interest if you are successful from the revenues you get. All
right. And we also heard about the national German fund, the famous 50 million euros. And is it possible to combine that? So if I'm a developer, can I get funding from both that national fund and from your? Yes, when we were writing our guideline and submitting it to the EU for notification, we of course put in that it can be combined with other funding. As we knew that there will be the big fund coming up, and also to make sure that it is compatible and we can combine it also when it comes to co-productions, as we already had a couple of co-productions with Belgium and also with France. And we of course made sure also from a European perspective, and also with the big fund coming up, that it can be combined. Yes, it's possible to cut it short. Perfect. That's great news for developers. But what is the biggest grant that you have paid to a single developer? What's the biggest amount? We can give up to 500,000 euros for production.
And the maximum we gave out so far, I think, was 400.
Okay. That's already quite a good start for a developer. All right, Till, don't go anywhere. I'll come back to you in a minute. Now I'd like to go to Yuri. You're also in an audiovisual fund. Do you get in trouble sometimes with the film people because your work is different?
Well, we never fight. We try to avoid it. No, we get a lot of help from the film people because they have a lot of experience in their sector. And I do think that we can learn a lot from them because they have existed for a longer time. But it is quite difficult to find the right way for games to go ahead. And it's also quite difficult to fight for our place. And I don't mean literally fight, but you know what I mean, because we want to grow as a gaming fund, of course, and we need to grow as a gaming fund. Right now, we have 1.5 people working on the gaming fund, and that's of 29 people in the company. So that's not a lot yet. So I would hope that we can grow as the gaming industry, of course, is also growing at a breakneck speed for the moment. So I think we need to try to keep up. That's and when you look at the numbers, if you want to know, it's like 10.6 million for movies, just talking about the funding itself, and 1.4 million for games. So it's quite a big difference.
Wow, yeah, that's quite a big difference, and it's not a lot of money, to be honest. What's the biggest grants that the developer can get from you? What's the biggest amount?
Well, in total they can get 300, and we do not have any prototyping, but we do have pre-production, production, and promotion. And promotion is quite rare, I have the impression, when talking to my colleagues in Germany and France. It's just something that we want to work on because we see that discoverability has been an issue for the last couple of years. So we also want to help on that end because like production and pre-production, they can finance a lot of that amount themselves by just working, like sweat equity. But when it comes to promotion, they have a lot of out-of-pocket costs, and that's where we also try to help.
And can they combine other sources of public funding, like Till explained?
Well, I'm very curious about what Till just said, because they can combine different sources, but it's always limited to a certain amount of the budget. So for us, for entertainment games, it's up to 50%. So they can start combining, but it's easier for them most of the time to just stick to VAF and ask what they need to get the 50% that they are able to get from us. So it would be nice for we call it the funding intensity. If it would be able to get it higher, like it is with movies, for example, that would be awesome. But it's not the case yet.
All right. Well, that's a great message to the people making the big decisions, I suppose. So we'll take it from you, Yuri.
Yeah,
right.
It's mainly a thing in Europe that they need to decide on.
Yes. Well, I think Europe is listening, so that's good news. All right, don't go anywhere, Yuri. Olivier, what's your experience working inside a cinema fund with games? And you need to unmute, by the way.
There we are. That's quite interesting because cinema is something really important in France. CNC was created in 1946, so it's a very old institution, and we are pretty proud to found the French movie industry for years and years. It does represent, if I'm not wrong, something like 500 million euro a year. And if you remember, I just said that video game funding is about 60 million euros, which is a huge difference, especially if you consider that both industry weights around the same weight on the cultural point of view. So that's interesting. It's really different because we do not fund the same process at the same time. We have a lot of different funding at the CNC for cinema, a little less for game, but we are funding game design in the very initial stages of a game, pre-production, prototype, production. We are not doing anything on promotion, Yuri, but this is something that we are considering right now because this is really something emerging that is really interesting to see independent studio becoming step-by-step publishers. But our main concern is not really the funding in itself, but the fact that they probably lack some knowledge to be able to self-publish. It's not only about funding, it's about the way they know how to make game. I'm not sure they know already how to promote them. And it's really a key factor. It's not only providing money, it's also trying to find a way to help them to discover something quite new. I do remember, because I'm probably older than most of you here, 20 years ago when iTunes went on with music and everything, everybody was saying, this is so nice. Now any band in the world will be available anywhere in the world, and we are going to listen to new musics and new stuff. And in fact, that was a big failure. Most of the time, you listen, even with digital, to artists that were already the bestseller in the store. It's almost the same with video games. With Steam and whatever platform, you are able to provide your game anywhere in the world, but as long as you do not know how to work on promotion, it's not going to work. So this is one of the things that we're considering for next year.
Interesting. And I think there was a discussion on the chat before about the long tail of games. So that's a topic that we might come back to. But with 60 million euros, I think this makes you the biggest public funding of games in Europe. So congratulations, you won the award.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. It depends on what you call Europe, and do we still consider our friends from Great Britain as European?
All right, yeah.
I think they do provide quite a lot of money also.
All right, and that takes different shapes though. But I might like to know because I asked a little bit about the differences in games funding and cinema or film funding. Maybe you can explain. In my experience, film funding is for the domestic audience in the local language, and it's a cultural policy that is intended to make sure that there is quality cinema for the local audience. But we heard from Peter Warman this morning how global the games industry is. So how do you square that with the domestic culture policy and the global nature of the games audience?
Well, this is very, very true, and this is a very interesting topic. And step by step, there are differences, but they are getting closer anyway. For sure, we want to fund games because at the very beginning, CNC wanted to be sure that games diversity and French culture will somehow still remain within the game industry. We love American game, Japanese game, Belgium, German, anybody's game, but our culture is important. I'm sorry about Spain, I did forget Spain. We love to discover things from any country in the world, but of course it's important for us, especially in France, to be able to keep our culture alive. So that was basically the idea. But very soon, at the very beginning, everybody understood that the game market is global. It does not make sense most of the time, 99% of the time, to make a game for a specific market. So you have to conceive it, to design it worldwide. This is not the case in the cinema industry, which is very, very relative to France. France does not export a lot of movies, even if some of you see some French movie from time to time. So these are two different paths, but we at the CNC are working on that already to see if some of the, well, let's say some of the things that we can learn from the game market could apply to other cultural markets in the world.
Yeah, interesting. I think that there is one genre of games where France excels, which is the graphic adventures. I'm thinking of titles like Heavy Rain and others by Quantic Dream. It's a very special flavor of French games, and it's easy to see the influence of graphic novels and cinema in that.
Yeah, and narrative game, you said that, but there are also many games in that genre specific. And probably this is a good mix of, as you just said, the importance that we have for culture, movie, graphical novel, and novels, generally speaking, yes.
All right, thank you. So there was a question from the audience about the funding, if it's in the culture exception of EU regulation. I think we've already answered that. It's obvious in the 3 cases from Belgium, Germany, and France. Maybe if I go to Spain, and you're with the culture ministry, Carmen, so I suppose your funding is also in the culture exception of the EU state aid rules, just to make that clear.
You suppose right, Pierre. We are in the exception of the culture regulation of the European Union. But here in Spain, this is how we work in the Ministry of Culture and Sports. But the video games are also supported by the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, and Tourism, which is more focused on the distribution and all the technology part, the investment part of the development process, and they are not in the exception of culture. So we just combine different kind of aids.
Oh, really? That's very innovative bureaucratic craftsmanship, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, in the Ministry of Industry, they are more used to all the bureaucratic aid process that the European Union requires. So.
Yes. But so we have heard now from 3 different cinema funds that also have investing in games as part of their remit. But you're not in a fund. You're at the ministry itself, so you have maybe a bit of a bird's eye view. What do you? What's your impression from what we heard from the film funds?
Here in Spain, depending on the ministry, we have also the Institute for the Cinematography and the Audiovisual, and they have another kind of aids, also another kind of funds, but they are more focused on the filming industry and even the animation industry. So the video games is something that is covered by the creative industries, which is part of this general direction, which is called creative and cultural industries. So, and I think there are some similarities between the film and the games industry, but there are also some synergies between the games industries and other cultural and creative industries, not only the filming industry, because they are really connected to the design, even though there are different kind of designers, but in the music industry, I mean, for us, the video games is the more global sector of the cultural and creative industries because it fit up from different industries. So.
Yes, it's said sometimes about opera that it combines all the different art forms of singing and costume design and stage design, etc. But games maybe do all of that and also add the interactivity and software. I like to think of it like that. But you said that in your opening intervention here that there's you support companies directly, and how do you do that? I think from the other people on the panel, they get project funding, right?
We support different projects, but not a specific games project. Because, for example, we support different kind of. It came to my mind. The development of technology itself, not the video game, which will result from this technology. That's the difference. That we don't need a specific game. We just need to fund the different process that are required to create the game.
And how do you do that in practice? Is it a grant? Is it a loan? What kind?
It's a grant.
It's a grant. Okay.
It's a grant. Yes, and we have also a specific line for loans for all the creative and cultural industries, which is with finance more favorable, more specific and better. I mean, not favorable, better financial conditions than the financial market of priors itself. So We have the two lines, but they are different. In this case, we are talking about the grants.
And these are not exclusive to games, or
No.
no?
This is a line for all the creative and cultural industries. So it covers from music, architecture, design, obviously audiovisual, and there's a particularity which sometimes the video games industries decided to call itself new audiovisual arts. Because we have this category, which is new audiovisual arts, and sometimes they prefer to be in that category than in the video games category.
Oh, okay, that's nice. You also said that you have plans to support individual creators. How do you plan to make that work?
We are right now just studying for the new year, because we hope that in the next few weeks the Parliament will pass the new budget for the 2021, and it will hopefully be a new line for the digital creators and video games. So this line, we are working on it right now in the specific criteria that we would like to include, which expenses will be fundable. I mean, all the specific requirements. We are talking with the sector, because we think it's important that this line has it's not the approval, but we would like to develop it with the convenience of the sector. So we will present it and debate about that in a few weeks with the sector, because we have what we call the table of the video game, in which all the different parts of the line are represented, from developers, creators, majors, all of them. And we hope to launch it in February or March.
Interesting. So we'll follow that closely. You heard Olivier talk about the differences of scope, whether it's a domestic audience or a global audience. What is the aim of these policies? What do you hope to achieve? What's a good outcome for you? When do you get credit from your boss?
I'm sure the main objective of this ministry in all the different arts is to boost the sector. For us here in Spain, the cultural creative industries are mostly medium-sized or small-sized business, and sometimes we have just realized that we have a lot of talent, but sometimes the majors are from third countries, US, obviously, and we would like that our companies, all the European companies, to be a real competitor in the global worldwide, because I think our position is not only to provide funds for the sector, but also to provide products, better products, more diversity products, because the major production is really focused on the same themes, and we really truly believe in the indie games, which has another thematic, and we would like to boost the role of the women in the industry. I really love to see Marine, because the truth is that this industry is really dominated by men, and we really like to foster the role of the woman in the industry, and also to professionalize even more the role of the creators. And this is one of the main points of the new line, because sometimes the creators, they are kind of amateur, and we would like them to professionalize and to be more competitive in a worldwide market.
All right. Thank you. That's a very broad set of policy objectives, but on the other hand, you have many different tools. So I think that makes a lot of sense from the ministry's point of view. Thank you, Carmen. I have some questions coming in on the chat, so please continue to ask your questions on the chat. I might not ask them exactly like you said them or wrote them, but I think we touched on the questions that have come in so far. Till, I'd like to hear from you now. When are you happy? When are you successful? I mean, what's your success criteria? What is it that you want to accomplish with your investment or your mandate?
Well, basically, we are a regional fund, so our job and aim is to boost the regional industry. And we are successful if that happens. If we see new companies coming up, the ones that we have, that they stay in the business, that they are successful, that they are creating great games, that new jobs are created. So it's a mix. And for that, we help with our money from the fund. And also we are involved in other companies. We have a daughter company, the Media Network, where they do networking events. So that we can mix the regional industries so that they really know each other, and also we mix them there with other industries so that they maybe can foster innovation or share creative talent with film, animation, influencers, stuff like that. And we also provide the opportunity to go to international shows to showcase your company and your game, and to go to marketplaces. And so we have a very diverse mix here in the region. Also another daughter company is the Mediengründerzentrum, the Media Founders Center, where we are, as a film and media fund, a shareholder. So that basically when you're finished with college, university, where you did game studies here in Cologne, we have the Cologne Games Lab. I think it's in one of the biggest or most international in Europe. And they really have excellent students. And if they are finished, they could apply for a grant for the Media Founder Center, where they can start the company. They can apply for money with us. They can go to network events. So here we've kind of built up a kind of pipeline or a bundle of instruments for them. And we want to see them get creative, so that when they come out of university or they decide to quit their job at I don't know, Ubisoft Blue Byte, they're in Düsseldorf, or EA in Cologne, one of the big ones, and they want to start a small company, so that they can really do so, and that we have the instruments ready to help them do that, create a great, successful company, and make great games that, well, personally, then I can also play when I'm done with the office work, and so it's a great day.
Excellent. That's very interesting. You're making sort of the same point as Olivier, that it's not enough to bring the funding. You also need to help them with the business and make sure that the games reach their audience. Yuri, I'll come back to you in a second. In fact, I'll give you a heads up, because we have a few minutes left, and then I'll come to each of you and ask you to make one wish for Christmas, and it doesn't have to come in a box. So think big. That's coming up in a few minutes. But first, I want to hear from Yuri. What has been the reception? How do game developers? How have they received your work? I mean, are you crucial to the success of the Flemish games business, or you said some of the bigger companies do not?
Yeah, there's a point where the bigger companies don't need us anymore. So I think we all of us are focusing more on the indie developers, and just to try to give them funding, but also train them. We see a lot of similarities in this debate. So I'm very happy to see that we are doing similar things, and that kind of points out that it's the right thing to do, probably, all of the things that we are doing. Well, I hope I'm crucial in some ways. I think it's important to have someone working on the gaming fund specifically, or several people, because it demands a certain kind of knowledge, and we have to iterate all of the time. We have to understand the industry. We have to listen to the industry. And I think all of the people here are doing exactly that. So I think we're doing good things, and I think we're helping people to set up their companies and fulfilling their dreams. That's what I always try to say, is that we're trying to help people fulfill their dreams, and there's nothing better than that, I guess.
No, that's a great vision. That's something we can all embrace. All right, thanks, Yuri. I'll come to you for the Christmas wish in a second, but first I want to hear from Olivier. Beside the funding that you provide to the French industry, there's also a tax break, and I think no discussion on public funding would be complete unless we talk a little bit about tax breaks. So, Olivier, can you explain, is it possible to access also the tax rebates in France combined with the funding that you provide?
Yes, of course, you can combine both. You just have to understand that it's a bit more complicated to go to these tax breaks because the files are more complicated and everything. So just a few numbers. If we consider our selective fund, 90% of the company receiving this fund each year are receiving them for the first time. We've got a lot of emerging company every year in France. It's almost the opposite on the tax break that is used by big and well-established companies. Of course, everybody knows Ubisoft, but also Quantic, Dontnod, and everything. So it's really two different levels that people in France, step by step, have learned to use at the correct timing on their own development.
Right, that actually speaks also to the professionalization of the industry, and it also paints a picture of different forms of public funding being relevant and having different impact depending on how it's designed. But we're out of time now, so Olivier, I have to ask you for your Christmas wish.
I have one especially asking for game developers, stop sending us games about pandemic and everybody stuck at home and plagues and everything, because we are really fed up with that. And we do receive that much, and that's really too much. And more seriously, to simply hope that we are going to be able next year to be able to make this kind of meeting in person and not only with Zoom.
Great, thank you so much. Till, what's your wish? And don't forget to unmute.
Yes, I think it's like Olivier's. It's nice that we can have a wish and a dream, as you put it, can help other people pursue their dreams. And my dream would also be that we can meet again soon in person, as it was really sometimes, a lonely year. We have the German Developers Award coming up, which is normally the Christmas party of the industry here in Cologne happening, and the Gamescom we all missed. And and also we have, like, right now, I would normally be in another Zoom meeting with Games Germany, which is the umbrella of all our regional funds and networks. And we have this monthly session that we have in online, but I haven't seen most of them in person. And also all the devs and publishers and all those people making great games. There's so many great people out there, and it's really people's business. So I really hope to see everyone soon in real life again. Same as Olivier.
Okay, thank you, Till, and thanks for choosing our meeting over that meeting. That's very kind of you. Yuri, what's your wish? And it cannot be that we meet in person. You have to come up with something new.
Yeah, well, I hope for success for all of the games that we're making. I'm hoping for more money. It would be great, and I hope we can get to a level, because of course we are the small party in this debate. I hope we can learn a lot from our colleagues in Europe and work together with them as well in the upcoming years. So we have a lot to learn, and we are eager to do so.
All right, that was more than one wish, but I'll take the more money as your wish. Important message. Okay, Carmen, you go last.
I think they just have said everything, but I will add the Parliament passed the budget, the Spanish budget, for the new lane to be implemented, and more funds. I ask for more funds to increase my lines of funding. So that's all.
All right, excellent. Well, we hope you have all been good and that Santa will come and give you all your wishes. I didn't get the wish, maybe I'll get one at the end of the day. But anyway, this panel was much better than I could have ever wished for. So how great, thanks for coming on the panel, thanks for sharing. And we'll see you soon, I hope. And to the audience, thank you for your interactive, your questions, your interactions. And don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes because next up is the publisher panel. So we'll move from public funding to the publishers and see what they have to say about the topics at hand. So that's in a minute. Don't go away from the screen. We'll see you. There's a camera. We have eyes on you.